Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where we're doing a reaction and review to the new WAGAKKI band song Sunwheel. This is the review video. As always, if you want to check out the reaction, pause this video, click the little link in the description below, which will open up a separate YouTube player where you can see the reaction, just in case you want to hear the song, in case you haven't heard it before, or see how I reacted when I first heard it, because I'm about to give you a review, so spoiler time if you haven't already heard the song. You ready for the review? Here it comes. Okay, so like I said, this is the new WAGAKKI band song, at least for this week. It seems that they're piling out singles like almost on a weekly basis now. Fantastic stuff for if you're a WAGAKKI band fan, as I consider myself to be. It does remind me, though, I mean, I certainly wouldn't say this is the case of what I'm about to say. I don't think is actually true of what we're seeing with WAGAKKI band, but it reminds me that it used to be a thing. They say that if a band was putting out its singles like really quickly all together, that was usually a sign that they don't consider themselves to be in a very good commercial space, because they're trying to generate false hype by putting out singles quickly and not letting any of them have time to breathe. I don't think that's the case with WAGAKKI band. I think that with them it's more a fact that they have songs that have got a very different style. I mean, Ignite came out a long time before all of this, and I think what they're trying to do here is they're trying to basically make the most of their budget. So it was kind of interesting to hear all these songs coming out so quickly, and I think that what I've really taken from this is that the album seems to have a really eclectic feel, at least from what we can judge from the songs that have come out so far. Now, as I say, I haven't checked out the Amy Lee song, the one they did with Amy Lee of Evanescence yet. I will check that out soon, but I've been informed that that is a fair bit different from these ones as well. Certainly what I would say about this one, though, is that this one, it really appealed to me, but in a way that I think is kind of, it's got some Japanese stereotypes to the way it was written, and perhaps not the ones that we usually talk about. I mean, a lot of the time when we talk about sort of stereotypes for Japanese writing, we talk about the things you often hear with more traditional rock bands, which is like the breakdown at the beginning of the last chorus, where everything goes away except for the voice just for the first few bars, or the key change choruses where everything goes up by 2 semitones in the chorus, and stuff like that. This had some slightly different Japanese writing stereotypes. Now, I wouldn't usually sort of pick on things for being stereotypes of writing, but the reason I say that about this song is because I don't think this is going to appeal as much to a Western audience. A matter that wouldn't usually concern me, but as I've been talking about in recent videos, I do think that WAGAKKI band are a band who have some potential for having a bit of breakout success internationally, and they seem to be playing towards that. And like I said, I think that there is a good chance that they will be involved in the Olympics, or certainly that they intended to be this year, but will be when it gets put back to next year in some way. So I think that whereas songs like Singing For, definitely that's going to have an international appeal. I think that's the sort of song that could break out. This one definitely seems to be playing more for the love of their more traditional Japanese fan base, which is, again, great. I mean, it's great that they've got both sides of that going on the album. So the things that I regarded as being particularly Japanese about this one, other than obviously the fact that it's got Shakauchi's, Koto's and Shamisen's and Yuko's style of singing in there, is the fact that for a start it had that double time chorus, the chorus where it goes into like a punk beat. That's a trick that I'm not much of an anime watcher, so you guys who are more familiar with anime can probably give some examples, but I've heard a lot of music by artists who I know do music for anime, and that tends to be a technique that you used to hear a lot of the time with those sort of anime singers. You have the fast pumped up chorus, which was supposed to, I guess that's supposedly because that's a good thing to put over like an intro sequence, because you need the music to be fast so you can fit it into like a 30-second intro sequence or something and get as much content in as you can in that time. So those sort of double time choruses in Japanese songs always remind me of like the old anime theme tunes and things like that. Guys, tell me if you can think of a good example or two. So there was that element, and there was also this sort of the fact that it's always on its toes. It almost had it was borderline Sokoninaru quality of being kind of relentlessly changing up. It didn't just sort of settle in too much, which was nice. I mean, it did have overall, if you analysed it, has a simple sort of verse, pre-chorus, chorus arrangement. And yet I just loved the fact that even in those aspects, in the verse, the way that the vocal melody went sort of fast, slow, the beat was changing, the rhythm was changing between each section quite distinctly. And yet at the same time really feeling like it wasn't just changing for the sake of it, it was accenting the changes, as often is the case in the pre-chorus, either the beat sort of falls back or it pushes forwards to either give you like a sort of draw back the bow before the chorus or sort of wind you up for the chorus. in this case, it sort of fell back and gave you a little bit of breather before throwing you in with that sort of hyper crazy chorus. I think that there was just tons of expression in here, and like I say, it was a nice balance between that very sort of Japanese hyper style of making every single beat, every single part of the song count, and having as many changes and as many developments of each part of the song as possible. But also was the fact that it just felt, like I say, like it worked, like it was very expressive. This felt to me like a very expressive song. One of the things I noticed, like I said, there was that one part where the shakuhachi was kind of almost just really holding one note, and yet it felt almost like it was a riff or a solo of its own, in that there was so much expression in it. And yeah, I think this highlighted again that quality that you can have the heavy sort of rock, you can have the hard beat underneath everything, and yet still have room to have expressive sounds. The shamisen and koto sounds, they seem to be very well produced on this album. I want to point that out. Very well recorded and very well produced, those sounds, because you're really hearing the expression of the Japanese instruments, as well as still getting that hard-edged, impactful nature from the Western instruments. Or the contemporary Western instruments, so to say. So for me, there was a really good balance between expressive, where you could really sort of feel the mood of the song, and at the same time that hard rock element of the Western instruments. And I'm a sucker for anyone who puts lights in their fretboard. It's the tackiest thing ever, I know, but I like it. And if you're going to do a light show in the woods, you might as well have some lights in your fretboard. So yeah, that was really cool. There was just a lot of things to like about this. Like I say, it really balanced a sense of really, should we say, detailed writing, tons of expression, both in the writing and in the performance, and just the whole sound. I loved the way the vocals sort of flipped up, and it showed a very different part of the quality and training of Yuko's singing, in that usually we hear her sort of ability to express notes and hold those big notes and make those, if you like, almost operatic performances, whereas in this it was more about her ability to be sharp and rhythmic, and there was a real quality to that I enjoyed immensely. I was thinking with songs like this, because like I say, because it had a bit of a tinge to me, a feeling of almost that Sokoninaru style of, not as much, but that Sokoninaru style of keeping you on the toes and being as sort of, should we say, engagingly meandering, changing its tone so much, and not settling in, not becoming too static, because it had that sort of quality. Something that can sometimes be lost when you do that is you can lose the ability to do a catchy song with a chorus, because a chorus is usually something where you just settle into hearing it and going, oh, that's the recognizable refrain, that's the bit that's going to stick with me. In this case, yes, I mean, this is not going to be one of those super catchy choruses that sticks with you forever, but it certainly did work. I thought the chorus was good. It is still in my head right now, which is a good sign. It stuck with me while I was rambling. So I think the chorus in this is actually pretty good. I don't think, like I say, this is going to be a huge hit with many Western fans. I can imagine this is something that will probably find its way into an anime theme tune. I think it's quick enough to fit in nicely for a 30-second title sequence. I know these days, title sequences for most shows get shorter and shorter and shorter, so they're going to need faster and faster songs. I think it's going to work great in something like that, which is probably where it'll end up. But I think it does make a good single. I think it makes a really interesting single for people who are probably more familiar with Japanese music. And if you're someone who gets into WAGAKKI Band from songs like Ignite or Singing 4, I think this is the sort of thing that you can work your way towards and will give you an interesting place to further your interest and taste in Japanese music. So I think WAGAKKI Band are providing a really interesting portal for Western fans to get more into that Japanese sound of music. And so, like I say, I have a lot that I would say I like about this. We've had a lot of discussions on both the live chat, Discord, all kinds of places about there's a lot of people who just kind of can't get into WAGAKKI Band. I don't think this song is going to change any of their minds. It doesn't let up on any of the qualities that I think those listeners would find difficult. But I think, WAGAKKI Band know what their sound is for the people who like it, and I think within the realm of that sound they have a fantastic level of variation between their songs. So if you kind of naturally like what their sound is, then they do lots of things within that. So I think this adds nicely to their portfolio, to their roster of songs, to their discography. I think it's a good song that just adds more colour. It doesn't feel disposable, doesn't feel like a rehash, doesn't feel like anything like that. It feels like, wow, this is something interesting and new. A quality that actually I did say recently I would very much attribute to Ningenis. Ningenis always surprised me because I wouldn't expect them to be the sort of band where you'd expect much variation, but they seem to have recent, not so much in the past, but of recent, they seem to have really grabbed this ability to give identity to every song, to really make their songs have unique identity each time a new one comes out. And I think that's something that definitely I'm feeling very much myself, at least with WAGAKKI Band. So as always, those are my thoughts. Please get in the comments. Tell me what you think as well. Was this a song that won you over to the band when you weren't a fan of theirs before? Which certainly would be interesting. And if so, please tell me what other sorts of Japanese music you listen to. What's your thoughts as a general? This is all about the comments. Love to hear what you guys think. Feel free to like. Feel free to subscribe if you want to do the YouTube things. Remember, we've got all our social medias linked in the description below if you want to just get involved in more talking. And as always, a big thank you for making it through to the end of this Waffle Fest. That's what these all are. These are just intense talking. I hope you enjoyed that. Big thank you, as always, to the patrons. You do keep this whole thing alive. You know how that works. And until I hopefully see you soon for the next one of these, in Japan, for now, ciao, ciao.